The thing about the NWO was that it was guys that were main eventers. And yes, even though Scott Hall was Intercontinental Champion, I consider him a main eventer. If you saw the amount of merchandise this guy had, the amount of popularity, and I loved him, and the devastating finishing hold that he had with the Razor's Edge, I consider that a main eventer. Plus, Intercontinental Champion is just as big as the world belt, and wrestling has a tendency to dumb down their fans and make them feel stupid. Intercontinental means world. So, the whole thing about it is, by the time 1993 came around and I started watching wrestling at the age of 11, Hogan was already practically on his way out. Had a couple matches with Money Incorporated, got squashed by Yokozuna. First thing I want to say about that is that if you have a top star for so many years and he built your organization, it's not a good idea to have him squashed and the memory faded and you're biting off you're biting your nose to spite your face and shitting on your plate and wondering why it tastes bad, because they tried so many main eventers after that. If you look at the whole thing, the 1 year alone that Hogan left, the belt bounced around. Yeah, it stood with Yoko for a while, but not really. Not if you look at the buy rate of the early 90s and the 80s and the 70s. Yoko had it for 9 months. Then briefly it went to Bret Hart. Then briefly it went to Bob Backlund. Really briefly. Then it went to Diesel for a year, Kevin Nash. So in reality, they were looking for their footing to replace Hogan, but they couldn't do it. Why break but you don't fix? It would have been okay. He retired because he was older, but he wasn't even old. He was 39. And then at the same time about it is that I would have kept him as that Babe Ruth guy that made an appearance, now again that attraction, just like they did Nikolai Volkov, just like they did Jimmy Snuka at that same period of time, and just like how they were doing with Macho Man, making him like an ambassador. That's what I would have done. Not erase him completely. They act like the guy never existed. And by talking with friends, I have a friend that fell off of wrestling for a while, but he was getting back into it. Andrew. And he said, I was watching old DVDs, old videos from on that they transferred into DVDs. And he said, Chris, would it have hurt any of the fans to wear a Hulkamania shirt? Jesus Christ, it was 2 years after the fact. Come on now. And I agree completely. But it's just so, it was just fun how they set it up, how everybody got together. These were guys that I was just recently, I saw more WWF than I did WWE, rather. Back then it was WWF. Then I did see WCW. So it made sense for me to get more closer to Razor and Diesel. But I always had a love for Hogan because he was in the video games and in my toys and in the movies I watched. So it was just a born marriage that those guys got together. The way they set it up with with the secret who's the third man, and the fact that Hogan said he made a organization up north, wonder what they were talking about, into millionaires, and then he became bigger than the whole organization and the whole sport of wrestling. I thought was pretty cool. But all in all, they made themselves bigger than what they ever could be, to the point where the the NWO is actually a trademark. They own it. Every shirt that they sell goes to them in profit, and they're kind of self-made men, and they made history where, to the point, it even helped the WWE step up their game with The Rock, Austin, Triple H, Attitude Era, everybody, etc., Mankind. So all in all, everybody wins, but it's always NWO for life, or should I say, Nev's World Order for life. Peace.